that's Bo. Bo's captive bred. Is Bella coming too? Okay. Okay. So the other thing that's kind of cool about Harris hawks is they like to wiggle their tails. Harris hawks, they have, because they live in family groups, their success rate goes way up. Their success rate is actually about 50%, which is far better than it is for other raptors.
Oh, that's cool.
You could.
I actually have 2 parrots at home that are going through this training. You can teach parrots free flight. There's no, but you can't use any punishment at all. That's the whole thing.
Oh, I'm learning that the hard way.
Yes.
We often get asked, you know, how do we train the birds? And we're working really hard on making sure we don't force the birds to do anything that they're uncomfortable with. Because these birds don't love us. That's not what they do. What they do is they trust us. And if we continually force them to do something that they're uncomfortable with, we'll start to break that bond of trust. And then we won't be able to get them to do anything. So, and Bella is coming out? Okay. The next bird that we have coming out is a female Harris hawk. And I don't know if you'll be able to tell the difference or not in sizes, but she's much bigger than Bo. Bella was captive raised by a family down in Tucson. They found her as a young bird, and this family was well-meaning. I mean, they didn't know that they couldn't keep her. It's actually illegal to keep this bird, but they didn't know that. They were well-meaning. They tried to take really good care of her, but because they didn't really know how to do that, they wound up feeding her food that actually did her harm. And what happened is she didn't have enough calcium to make good bones, and she actually has 3 stress fractures in her left leg. And when she comes out, you'll be able to actually see that her left leg is kind of skewed. And because of that, we can never release her to the wild. If she tried to catch a rabbit or something like that, she could very easily wind up breaking that leg. The other thing about Bella is that because she was raised by a family, she honestly doesn't know she's a bird. She really, and this is Mike, he's got Bella. And if you take a look at her left leg, you can see how she's standing on it kind of crooked. The other thing about not being able to release her to the wild, because Harris hawks hunt in family groups, she would have to find a family group that would take her in, and it would be something that would be very difficult to happen. So she's a keeper, and I guess that's really the other. Oh, I know one thing I want to mention about the Harris hawks is that they do this thing called stacking. And it looks really, really aggressive. It's not. One Harris hawk will actually stand on top of another one. And sometimes they'll stack 2 and 3 high. And they don't think it's aggressive. They think it's just something that they do to either see higher or because there's not enough places on whatever it is they're sitting on. But anyway, that brings our program to a close. I would like to end with a quote from Margaret Mead. You know, we were talking earlier on in the program about how we're all part of a giant ecosystem, and truly this earth depends on all of us to take care of it and make sure that things are going to be around for our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. And so I'd like to end by a quote from Margaret Mead, and she said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, that's the only thing that ever has." So we all have a role to play here. There is a donation out back if you feel inclined to donate some money. Feeding these birds is one of our greatest expenses, so all your donations really go to help feed the birds. Thank you very much for coming. The birds will be on the fence so you can come up and get really close pictures. And thanks once again for coming.